Our guests are two men who know how to get into the meat of an issue. Fikry and Dan Wanies are the co-founders and co-CEOs of CarniStore, one of the UAE's fastest-growing digital butcher shops. After spending years with entrepreneurial passions simmering beneath the surface, a chance meeting between Fikry and Dan caused those passions to bubble up, with CarniStore being the result. Now, many celebrity chef pop-ups and viral videos later, CarniStore ships their meat all over the UAE with ambitions to go beyond. Hello and welcome to Homegrown DXB, the show taking you inside the lives of the people changing yours right here in Dubai. I'm your host, Amar Bati. And I'm delighted to have with me today Fikry and Dan Wanies, the co-founders and co-CEOs of CarniStore. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. I always like to ask this question when you have sort of co-founders, because I think that partnership is a really interesting thing when people are starting a business. Finding that perfect partner to go into business with is almost as challenging maybe as a marriage, or maybe more so, depending, right? Maybe you spend more time with each other. So how did you two meet?
Okay, so actually, it's an interesting story. We both had the same idea. We both had the passion for meat, and we were going in our parallel ways, working around the same idea or trying to do the same business idea. And we met in actually in a common friend's kid's birthday party, and we were there.
What year
And
was this, roughly?
this is 2016. And the common friend was like, guys, I think you both are doing the same thing. Why don't you speak? And we're starting having a chat. And then, like we're kind of doing more or less very similar business idea. And, like at this time, we had different partners at the start. And, like we didn't want to share much with each other. I think we wanted to see who's going to do it first. And, like still competition type of. And,
Yeah, it was like
yeah.
this. Oh no, he's got my idea. I got to move quick. Like that was it. It was like it became like kind of like this. You have an idea. You're looking forward to doing something, and someone is working in parallel to the same thing, and so it wasn't right. It didn't click at that time. It wasn't like wait, let's join forces and do this together. It was like oh, this is a rival.
Yeah, let's move fast.
Why did you have that first impression then at the time, do you think? Is it because
Because we had different partners, and I think we were at different parts of our journey. Like Dan had already progressed with some things I didn't. I progressed with some things he didn't. So it's like, like we already have people that are engaged, but then I think it was meant to be because my partner and I didn't continue at this point, and Dan the same with his partners, and we just kept in contact every now and then, just like a pulse check to see how things are going, and
check
then
up on your competition?
yeah,
Right?
exactly, like keep your enemies close type of thing. And yeah, I think I told him, you know what, I'm on my own. He told me, yes, me too, and they're like, okay, let's sit and have a chat. And from that time we just joined forces. We had to agree on like specific fundamentals on how we want to do the business. And like we found our vibe. We didn't know each other, so we weren't friends. So yeah, definitely there is a risk, like to it, like getting, you don't we didn't know each other from before. So but I think we clicked, or let's say our passion for meat kind of brought us together.
Yeah, and our other partners before, they weren't passionate about this business, right? And but they did bring other strategic elements. There were the funding elements. There was more of a structural possible element to it. And when Fix and I thought about getting together, it was both passion, which is amazing because you've got someone else who shares your vision. But at the same time, when you're starting with someone who's got that ultimate passion and you're trying to merge your ideas together, you feel strongly. You don't have anything, but you kind of feel strongly about everything. I remember at the time we had different designs, different names, different everything,
What were
different.
some of the other names?
Oh, we got to get into that.
Uh,
Yeah, it
okay,
was it.
he had
Yeah,
the name.
I had a name that, in hindsight, it wasn't that great. I mean, it was cuts like cuts of meat,
Hmm.
but he's
Like
like that sounds like a
barbershop.
barbershop to me.
It does a
So
little bit.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry to say.
it Yeah. Okay. We can leave that one alone. But there were other elements that I think when we merged together, it was pretty cool. The other
So
idea,
how did you land on CarniStore then?
it was his.
Yeah, it's a name that I was doing my MBA back then, and like because it was a part-time thing, so I had to study at night, and sometimes I would like just start thinking about what I want to do, and it was a butchery, and then what is the name, and Carney Store just came, on one of these nights. I wrote it down, and I was hooked on the name. Like I was like, I want to call it Carney Store, and then started working on the logo and everything. And we didn't have the funds to actually start the business back then, so it's all like you get an idea, you write it down, and you try and start and like work more on it, and just became Carney Store, and that's it. I don't know. Yeah, it just happened.
I mean, you mentioned that when you started, there was a lot of passion, but no tangible assets at that time, right? Or you're still just getting into it. What were some of the other passionate debates you had early on in the business?
So it was how much of the business is going to be front facing, right? How much is tangible of the business in terms of like, can I go as a customer? And how much of it is online? I think that's where our models had to kind of meet in the middle. We both had an e-commerce element. Fix's was way more e-commerce than myself. I still wanted a nice front of house for people to be able to come and see, but that's a lot more asset heavy, right? That's a lot more in terms of operating expenditure. And I mean, it wasn't that much of a passionate debate because between the two of us and our engineering salaries, we didn't have that much to put into it. At the time, we also both had families. We both have three kids as well, and so it's like at that point, it's no longer okay. I'm single, or it's just my wife and I, and we can just afford to. No, we've got to get this. We're putting our savings into this. We've got to get it right.
I'm curious about that leap because I feel like that's always like a pivotal moment for people who decide to sort of start their own company, right? Especially you both, as you said, you both have three kids. You came from, I imagine, very stable, successful careers, and you said, "No, I have this passion. I want to build something for myself." How do you have the confidence to do that? How do you make that decision that this is important enough, the potential is big enough that it's worth giving up that stability?
So definitely when we started this, there are lots of things we didn't know about. So there are lots of trial and error. We were at the time, like e-commerce, especially in butchery, it was more or less non-existent back then. Also, the aggregators didn't have like butcher shops on it overall. So at this point, we were just, like let's say putting all our eggs that e-com in the basket that e-commerce is going to take off. And I think during COVID, I know COVID was not kind to lots of businesses back then, but for the e-commerce space, it was a booster. It was like a 5-6x booster overnight, and this is where actually people started going online. So until we found this and we saw the potential, because in the beginning, first 18 months, we were still like putting in money from our pockets to keep the company like going on, yeah,
With only three
with
staff.
only
Yeah.
three staff
Yeah.
back then.
Including you guys, basically?
No. We,
Uh-huh.
we
No.
weren't full time until COVID. Neither of us were full time
Yeah.
in the business. Yeah.
So yeah, I had a full-time job also at this time, so it was mainly weekends and evenings. And by the time when things started picking up, we can see, like, okay, it's moving in the right direction. It needs both our focus right now. And once you see that the business can actually take some of your expenses, then at this point, like, okay, it is time for us to move in full time, because definitely the more we spend in the business, the more that we can grow the business. And definitely it's not easy to just jump, and especially when you're living here, you have kids, it's not also very easy, like for your day to day. So it took some time, but kind of calculated it a little bit, but also there was a risk element.
And then you made the full time leap, basically, you said during COVID. Was that because you saw the demand at that point?
I did.
Y-
Yeah. So we had different I think I was in a different business at the time. I left my engineering career in 2015. I had another event business as well. And it was kind of a fortuitous turn of events because COVID at the same time kind of killed that business, uh,
Yeah.
the events. And it was a very technical business. It was more sound, lighting equipment, setups like this, that we would go and we would do. We had a lot of the equipment and we would go and provide AV services for events. Obviously, March 2020, that all ends. I mean, it's from 100 to 0. There's not even there's nothing, 0. And at the same time, it's funny. We were going CarniStore at around 15, 16 orders a day. That was like kind of our happy place. We were breaking even, kind of, you know. And then we had a limiter on our website of 100 at the time, and it went straight up to the 100 just overnight. Lockdown is announced. Right then, it goes up. We've got 3 staff, so right then I was like, pick up the phone to Fix. We're in our kind of war room. And it's like, okay, I'm there. And so I was there 14, 15-hour days, and it was kind of crazy, trying to get supply, making deals on the back end, and then going and taking orders from the butcher and helping him cut, and then helping deliver. And
So you were basically at that point doing everything.
just it was all out. It was nuts. And then whenever Fix got a chance, evenings, weekends, he was joining me. We deliver together in the rain. It was a fun time. I mean, we look back at it. It was a good time.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's yeah. Now looking back, we're happy where we are right now, but definitely it was part of the whole experience. Like for us to, and actually, it got us also closer because like it's not only when you're winning, celebrations and stuff, but also in the tough times that this is where you actually, like you can, like you can depend on each other, and then this definitely strengthened our bond and made us realize, yeah, this thing can grow more if like if you continue working with the same ethics, like respect and so forth.
I wanted to sort of take a step back, pre-CarniStore, because you were talking about earlier, Fix, about when you don't have the capital or you don't have the opportunity, you have these ideas, you write them down, and sort of hoping for find the right person or the right moment to launch it. But I believe you had a number of businesses prior to CarniStore that
Yes.
didn't take off.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about those? Why you think they didn't take off the way you maybe would have hoped, and stuff you learned from them that you've taken forward into CarniStore?
Sure. So I think the first business, I just came to Dubai for like first 2 years or 3 years, and then um, like we were like 3 friends, and then a fourth joined, and we started a below the line advertising company. So mainly printing, like business cards, giveaways, gifts, things of that sort. And actually, it worked well, but at the time, I think we were a little bit too young and we didn't understand how to have the roles clear, how to actually work together. And also, we were all friends. And, it didn't work out between 2 of the partners, and we had to actually close the business while it was actually a profitable, good business at this time. Um, so yeah, I think the takeaway was you need to know who, yeah, friends you can have fun with, but not all of your friends you can be business partners with. And although we're still friends till today, but again, the business together, there were no clear roles and responsibilities. Lots of egos, lots of young, like these fiery emails, these messages, like you're still young, you're still actually, like think that you could just do whatever you want and things will move. But again, you learned a lot from it. Second one, actually, so the business partner is my best friend till today, and actually, it was we started an F&B. It was a franchise back then. Great product, growing, growing brand. But then again, there was some turbulence for the franchisor, which caused issues with more or less our operations, and we decided to not to continue. And this is where I learned a lot about the FMB and I think when my friend and I entered, we sat and spoke. Like, like this is business, so our friendship is more important at the end of the day because we're originally friends. Or like, if this is gonna jeopardize our relationship, we don't want to go into this. But we agreed on the basics and principles, and it's all, I think, respect. And I think it was a good ride. Learned a lot from it. Helped me a lot into preparing for CarniStore, because I got to learn like the P&L, the food cost, supplier relationship, um, delivery, all these things I didn't know anything about. So I learned it with the franchise, but then after that I kind of took this to CarniStore after.
So as
Yeah.
co CEOs currently, I mean, I guess maybe taking from your
Yeah.
learnings, how did you decide then who is responsible for what? I assume you have clear roles,
Yeah, so
or maybe not. Maybe maybe it is
Dan,
more
you want
fluid.
to take this?
It's not. We didn't decide.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't. It was like we came in and there were natural. I think Fix joined me full time in the business 2022, and I've been 2 years, kind of just chugging along, having him in the weekends and evenings, and obviously being able to solicit his advice on things. And he was doing a lot of work in the background. But when he joined full time, it was just apparent, and the things that I was just happy to let go of. And this is when you know you have a good partnership. Is like your weaknesses are the other person's strengths, and vice versa. So it didn't even come to a point where it's like, I'm taking marketing back off. It's my thing. And then you get off here, like, no, I've been doing it, and I did this, and and then it gets into like this contentious. We never had to do that. The things that we both are passionate about, we just naturally come together whenever there's a big decision on that thing, and we talk about it. The things that I really don't like you talk to me about quality assurance, forms, procedures, like, come on, all that kind of stuff. He loves it. Like, I mean,
You actually love that?
It's not that I love it, like
he loves it. He loves it.
I did it. I did before, so I know how to do it. I enjoy it. I don't love it. I enjoy it, but I think
Still more than
everything.
most people, I feel.
Excuse?
It's still more than most people. If you enjoy
Yeah, more than
quality
most
assurance,
people.
Yeah.
No,
Definitely.
it's torture. It's torture.
No, it's mainly about like organization. Like all of these things. It's things that I enjoy more. Let's say let's say like organizational structure. Like getting people in different roles, responsibilities. Quality is something I did during my engineering days, so I was comfortable working with it, and I think we're fortunate to have a really good team to help us build where we are right now, because everyone came in with like some expertise, and we built it together. Because, for example, like for quality, we didn't hire quality, we didn't start, but we found someone who's good in the team, and that naturally fell into like, okay, quality role makes sense, and then let's build it together. And then they took the lead, like we did with lots of the departments we have right now. So we just start, we push, and it works. We just find a way. For example, Dan would like research something very specific and particular for a full day. I can't do this. I can't go into like the details of the details of details like he does. So there are some things that for him, it's like as if you're taking him to Disney or something. Like he's enjoying it, and I can't spend like 1 hour in front of the computer. I just can't do it.
Okay, so you each have your personal passions, strengths, things that you enjoy that maybe other people don't.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so I'd like to maybe take a step back at this point. Maybe look at the overall timeline of the business just to sort of get a picture. you had your first 18 months pre-COVID, and then obviously COVID's when you have this explosion in orders and unexpected boon for the business. Can you sort of walk me through, I guess, how the business evolved from COVID onwards to you joining in 2022 and sort of how things are going at the moment?
So yeah, started June 2018, and then COVID hit, and just after that, we started hiring, and it was panic hiring because like we had orders and the website was sold out for a week in advance, and we didn't.
When did you lift the limit, the 100
We
order
we
limit?
didn't for a while, so we had to hire. I mean, this was a whole thing. I mean, trying to do 100 orders, and keep in mind, these are 100 orders, give or take about 7 or 8 pieces of meat or chicken or whatever. So each order will take about 15 minutes of one butcher's time to prepare.
And it
So
was
that's
the
where we
time
were.
that people wanted, like more meat because no one knew what's gonna happen at that time. So everyone was filling.
One butcher.
Yeah.
We had one butcher.
One butcher for all the orders.
We had one butcher, one guy who was cooking, so he would do the smoked briskets and all that other stuff, and our operation manager. That was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went on a hiring spree.
Just
basically.
hiring. The good thing at this time that lots of hotels, were not operational, so we were able to get very good talent in a very short time, and just started, ramping up our team, taking customer service, lots of things we didn't have, so we had to think at this point, okay, this is a company and we have orders, and we need to keep up with what's happening, because if we don't, we'll lose the opportunity for us to grow, or let's say to push ourselves to grow. So it was from that time, it was adding more butchers, adding more chefs, customer service, and then from there, quality accounting, all these things. We used to have agencies doing things for us. Then now we started, now we can actually grow the team. And I think this is one of the things that we thought about a lot, is that, okay, so now the team is growing, we need to have a good culture. So we need to think of
How
who we're
long did it
getting.
take to scale up, roughly? What was the period?
It's ongoing. I mean,
It's
we're
still
we're
happening.
still doing
Yeah,
it.
still
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
So, but then again, you reach to a point, because at each stage of the business, we learn something that we didn't know. We learned that, okay, now we have a bottleneck here and something that we didn't forecast. So let's try and solve it. With time, you get to understand the bottlenecks as you
Can you
grow.
give me an example of a bottleneck?
Dispatch, for example. So let's say for you have orders that are ready, okay, packed and everything, but there is no one to put it in a bag and actually give it to the rider and check everything, for example. So we didn't have enough dispatchers at a point. Other than we didn't have enough butchers, sometimes delivery partners actually wouldn't fulfill the orders on time. So there are lots of bottlenecks that you actually start to think, okay, maybe now it's time to look for another logistics partner. Now it's time to grow the team of the butchery, the dispatch, and hire a supervisor. These are all things that we didn't think of, or we try to think that nothing will go wrong until we see that things start to go wrong, and then we take an action. Now I think with time we do understand most of the pain points, and we start to be proactive in our approach. Took us lots of learning, I would say, lots of trial and error, lots of bad decisions along the way. But
Can you give me an example of a bad decision?
mainly Dan's decisions.
Of course. I mean, that goes without saying, I assumed. No, I mean, look, obviously, everyone makes bad decisions. Whenever they do, right?
we have some
Yeah, yeah.
serious we have some serious bad decisions. I think the main one that we've spoken about at length was just reactive to everything. So we didn't want to invest. I think we were kind of stung from those 18 months of just every month worrying about making bankroll, worrying about this, worrying about that. And so it was like do we have enough money from the business to hire an accountant, even though that's crucial to our business? Do we have enough money from the business to invest in Google AdWords and meta marketing, Facebook, Instagram marketing? Do we have enough money from the business to have redundancy for our equipment in the our mincer, for example? If that goes down, what happens? Those are the stupid kind of things that. And we were kind of like, we don't really want to invest from our pockets anymore. We're weary. We're done with that. We want to start making some money. And COVID, we've got all these orders. Let's start putting some money in our pockets. And I think later, as we started like kind of tiptoeing, like investing here, and we just started realizing how much better it made our lives, how much more money we were making. I mean, just by having an accountant who can pay you 6-7x his salary in the first few months just by finding little low-hanging fruit, things that you're not even doing, right? And those are the things that started encouraging us with time. It's like, no, stop being reactive, be proactive. That was definitely, I think, our biggest mistake.
That was your mistake, according to Fikry.
Sure, fine.
Yeah.
Good leaders take responsibilities.
Of course. So something else I think that's really notable about CarniStore is you have very well, I guess, attended, engaged sort of community events, and you've done these collaborations with celebrity chefs and things that have gotten a lot of attention and traction for the business. I'm wondering how that element sort of came about. Was that maybe from your background in events, Dan, or where did those ideas come?
No, we started events. We started way back, but I think the events that you're more
thinking about more recent, like the ones that
you ones. Yeah, that was actually the chefs one was Fik's idea. The street food with famous chefs. Yeah, that was Fik's.
And when did you sort of decide, okay, we're going to go from being a business that people order from online, right, where obviously there's a lot of I think love for the brand and for what you're providing, to being maybe more customer facing, having more tangible sort of relationships or connections to your customers face to face, having people come down to the store, having that physical sort of space and sort of God. Because I feel like there was a shift. It felt, at least from my perception, more of an online business, and now I feel like you have both pieces there, right?
Yeah. So I believe that like food is one of the things that gets people like together. Just think on the weekend, if you go visit your family, most probably it's lunch or dinner, or with your friends you go and barbecue. So for us, like community, we were thinking that it is time for us to engage more with the community and give more to the community. So definitely, like engaging more with our suppliers, our B2B customers, also our business to consumer customers, in addition to chefs also, because we have lots of talent here and they do lots of amazing things. And we thought that it would be good for us to, showcase the talent, the chefs that are in UAE, and actually also showcase our product and how versatile it is and how they can use it in lots of different ways, whether it's a Michelin star chef, and their take on a street food and how creative they could be with the same type of product. In addition to engaging with our customers, where they come to the events, like we have a chat, they have, like a different experience, something that's not anywhere, because the menu we have and the chefs come up with, like 3 or 4 creative dishes. It's not on their menus, more or less. So it's something that's done for this event, for a street food, but, like a glorified street food type of thing. And we engage with our customers in different ways. Whether it is, sometimes we do workshops, sometimes also we do events that we actually get our B2B customers for them to cook. We don't want to be cooking. We don't want to be in the forefront. We actually want to have, our B2B customers and the chefs we work with to be the stars, not us. We want to be, like in the back, supporting them, giving them good product and good customer service, and giving the opportunity to shine.
How does that then feed back into your core business when you have these types of sort of, I guess, events, whether it's with the chefs, with the consumers themselves?
So it's really engagement, right? Or making your brand top of mind when you think about it. When we do these things and they go big on social media, and we're partnering with these chefs and creating kind of a grassroots movement because it's not big international names. No, it's more of this homegrown, and I think that's the essence of where we are in Al Cercal. Is you're not going to find a Starbucks or any multinational brands there. It's all about the homegrown element. They've curated it very well, and I think we're bringing that theme into our events. Dubai's popped up on the food scene big time in the last 5 years, right? We now have the Michelin Guide, we have World's 50 Best, and we have all these chefs now that people are talking about. You have your Tressens, you have your Orfali, you have your. It's no longer that we're talking about, so and so chef, celebrity chef from England who's got a restaurant here, or the Nobus or the Zumas or whatever. No, now people are excited about. And so for us, bringing those chefs in, collaborating with them, supplying them, and we supply a lot of these
I'm
chefs as
actually
well.
having fun with them. So
Yeah.
yeah, we really. I'm not sure if you've seen some of the videos and like the teaser campaigns. We
I'm
really
going to
have
ask
fun.
you
Yeah.
about that in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The social media element's
Yeah.
big because it's also like, again, we don't, even though we do have a physical presence now in El Cercal, still over 97, 98% of our revenue is made online, on the B2C spectrum. It's orders that are made online. And so when we have that, it's still important for us. We have a full marketing team to engage our customers online, to create this content, create these events, and get the word out with these events, right? So it's not like we're doing this, but everybody knows about it, and more people know. I think the first curbside alchemy event we did with these chefs, we were expecting 5 or 6 thousand people, and over 12,000 people showed up into the lane, and we were sold out of food in an hour and a half.
How did you
You
deal
know,
with that?
we just
Sold
learned.
out or so. Sorry. Yeah. That's
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
You missed it. So yeah, like created a bit of a FOMO effect for the
Yeah, sure.
for
of
the
course.
next one, but overall, yeah, it is something we didn't think it would go that fast, or like lots of people would show up, but they did, and we learned from it. So I think we're planning another one in November.
Volume 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
volume 3.
All right.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
I will stay tuned. Everyone should stay tuned.
So sorry, maybe to follow up
Sure.
on the events. Um, we also think that we want to give more to the like the F&B industry here in UAE and even in the region. So end of this month, we're joining Cairo Food Week. So we're going to supply Cairo Food Week with with meats, and there are chefs that are flying from Dubai to Cairo to cook alongside Egyptian chefs, and chefs that are flying in from around the world to Cairo to the same. And we are going to be supplying the meats in for Cairo Food Week also. And this is a part where we're thinking we really want to support the scene here, because there are lots of changes. People are really keen on elevating the F&B or hospitality here in the region.
I mean, is that an aspiration of yours outside of like limited time events like Cairo Food Week? Like, is it something where you look at CarniStore as being a multinational brand at some point, supplying outside the UAE? Is that in the cards? Maybe not immediately, but sort of the
No,
long-term vision.
it's definitely in the cards. I mean, when we started this, our mission was, like, it was big, but we want to change the world, the way the world eats meat. That's what we were saying. We want to change the way that the world eats meat, and to a in a way, we've done that here in the UAE, and a lot of people ask us, so what's next? You're going to have your own farms, you're going to have your own, but yeah, that vertical integration is definitely a big part of it, because we started out, we were buying from local suppliers. Now, obviously, we have direct contracts with farms in many different countries. But obviously, next, yes, we're going to get to a point where we're booking up cattle, right? Paying for them, having our own cattle, having our own breeding programs, our own feed programs, and then being able from the source, wherever it is, Australia, Argentina, wherever it may be, to export from that source CarniStore brand cattle to the rest of the world, right? And so that is a big aspiration of ours, and it's something that we've been discussing at length and already having talks with farms about.
So when you are, I mean, obviously that's the hopefully one of the next steps, right? But when you are looking at what products to bring in, where to source your meat from, how do you make those decisions? How has that also sort of evolved over the history of the business, in terms of both obviously what people demand, but sort of like what you want to introduce to maybe a consumer or what you want to introduce to the market here.
So I think it's twofold in a way. When you think about what we sell on CarniStore, obviously at the beginning, we were starting out, a lot of it was doing a lot of research for what the world consumes. And we are a premium brand, so it's not for everyone. We do target, it's not the cheapest. We do attract a discerning customer who cares a lot about the cleanliness, the natural, the quality of the food that they're paying for. But at the same time, we had to do a lot of research to say, what are people eating out there, right? Do people want Wagyu? Do people want this? Do people want that? Because that's what we want to sell. At the end of the day, we want to sell what people want. But at the same time, one thing we discovered was that variety is king out here. We always use the example of rabbit. We decided to launch rabbit, right, about a year ago. And rabbit is not a fast moving good, right? It's not something that people tend to consume on a daily or even weekly or monthly basis. Some people do. But what we found also was that variety is great because when one person who's buying rabbit, who searches online rabbit, right, and they find it on our website, in all likelihood, they will buy the rest of their protein from us as well, having that one basket. And that's what when we became the one-stop shop for all things meat. That's what we said. We want to be the one-stop shop for all things meat. And so in essence, we've launched everything and there's a lot of trial and error. Sometimes we'll launch something and we'll think, "Oh yeah, this is going to fly." And it just doesn't. And then on other times we'll launch something reluctantly because someone in our team or a procurement manager or someone's like, "I have this in my home country. Please sell it. Please sell it. Everybody wants it." We're like, "Okay, let's let's give it a
Yeah,
shot."
it surprised us.
Yeah.
Can
Lots
you
of
give me an
things.
example of
Uh,
those?
It wasn't home country, but snails, for example,
yeah,
escargot,
snails. Yeah.
snails.
So that's been a really popular one.
It's
Escargot.
it worked. We thought we won't move. Like
Seafood.
one or two.
Seafood
Yeah.
in general. Like we went into seafood. We're like, okay, let's give it a shot. I think seafood just took over lamb. Like I couldn't even imagine. We weren't, and we started out. We're not in this game. We started out. Let's sell wild salmon from Alaska. Because I can't find wild salmon, and I know a lot of people want it. Let's sell wild salmon. We went to a few shows. We found a source. We brought it over here, and I mean the rate at which, and even people on blogs were talking. It's like, CarniStore have wild salmon, and a lot of people were like, I don't believe it. Is it? How do you know it's wild? Do they have a how? Are you sure? I've been waiting for wild salmon for a long time. So I think fish was one of those ones. Again, we started seafood, and it just like it took off.
I mean, I think this connects well. Talking about things like wild salmon, you have the CarniStore Graze program, right? And I want to ask a little bit again that aspect of how you source your produce, also sort of commitments you've made to sustainability in terms of I think you had at one point you had a carbon neutral or
Yeah.
carbonless meat or something of that
Yeah.
nature.
Carbon negative.
That's it. Thank you. Carbon negative meat.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's a good term.
You,
Tell me, like, what was the thinking behind that? Is that something that you continue to commit to, and how does that sort of factor in?
Look, it's something that we want to commit to. Unfortunately, from the experience we had with a couple of supplies before that, consistency is not there and it's very cyclical. So maybe 5-6 months you'll get your product, and then the other 3-4 months they don't have enough product, and then the quality is not consistent. So with this, it's very difficult to keep like consistency across and move the same, or like give the same to our customer, which caused us some issues. And we believe that this is something that's going to happen, like when farmers start to move to regenerative farming programs more and more. And there are lots of, I don't want to say fake, but there are some programs out there, buzzwords, like everyone using AI and everything, and they don't actually use AI or they don't develop, but the buzzwords was regenerative back then.
sustainable.
Yeah. But when we, dug a little bit, we found that there are lots of things that actually are not true. So we we redirected to grass fed because actually grass fed, like grass fed, grass finished beef is something that is being used, that there are lots of ranchers using it, that there are lots of very good programs out there for it. So, and this is where we started sourcing grass fed beef, and we added the CarniStore graze for that.
And then supplemental. So when we looked at things like regenerative or sustainable, uh, you have to kind of go and see what they're doing. A lot of these people are buying carbon credits, so they're just farming normally, and then they're sponsoring this farm or this big company. It's usually a bigger company. They're sponsoring, the planting of trees somewhere in the Amazon or something, and so that's how they're saying that they're carbon neutral. And we had to dig into it a lot and find out what actually is sustainable in this. And it's completely different for beef, for lamb, and people don't understand this. It's like before we were farming cattle, bovine animals were the most consumed by volume by carnivores historically. You're going back 12,000 years, and you still have the migration of the wildebeest. And these bovine animals can only exist in such large numbers because their numbers are controlled at the end of the day, right? You have their carnivores that are feasting on them, right? You also have them grazing on the ground. They are obviously fertilizing the ground naturally. And so the grasslands grow back richer from their fertilizing of it. And the grass actually sequesters the carbon from the atmosphere. That's what's called soil carbon sequestration without getting too geeky. And that's what keeps the carbon out of the atmosphere. And so when we look into doing that at volume, that's where what Fix is talking about. It's like we've got over 30,000 hungry customers here that need this year round. So they're not going to say, oh, in the summer when there's a drought, sorry, our product isn't available. We can't supply you. And so that's where it goes. In essence, we have to source from multiple microclimates to be able to deal with cyclicality. And we have to become innovative ourselves to be able to do what we're saying, walk the walk. So we're not just saying, we're doing this and then, people aren't going to know. We can just deliver anything to them. They're not going to know. No, we actually, everything is there. And our customers, our discerning customers, ask for certification. They ask for evidence. They ask for everything. And so Fix and I routinely, multiple times a year, we visit the source. We witness the slaughter. We check the feed programs. We look at animal welfare as well, like, red tractor badges and other things. And so that we're not just feeding our customers a whole load of hogwash, right? That we actually have to be abiding by every single thing that we claim.
So look, I think it's pretty clear that you are both yourselves discerning in this space, or you care a lot about it, right? And you talked about how you're both like passionate about meat. And I'm curious sort of where that specific passion came from for both of you, how early it started, and yeah, sort of why it's persisted to this day.
I don't know. I always like to grill, but nothing very sophisticated. But I think around 2008, 2009, I just started, like getting into smoked meats, like barbecuing, and I had to throw lots of, like good pieces of meat that I burnt, or like they weren't edible, and it took me a very long time to find. And then this was, like kind of a challenge. Like, no, you need to, like watch the heat, what to do with this, what happens if the temperature is also. I started getting into it more and more, and started to become a hobby, or this is where I actually wind down. So,
Do you still cook meat to wind down, even working at CarniStore?
yes, not as much. I don't smoke meats as much, but I like to grill. More of the Argentinian type grilling. So, like uh, light woods. And then wait for the ambers, and then take a very long time to grill a steak. Outdoors. And I think this is one of the very, very few things that I do that actually I can wind down if I'm just spending time outdoors and, just grilling. Yeah, I think this is kind of therapy for me.
What about you, Dan? I mean, where did your passion come from?
I think so. My happy place was like growing up. Again, we moved to the States when I was a very young boy, and I always remember summers and specifically, the 4th of July. 4th of July was all about hot dogs, burgers, the chicken, just barbecue and fireworks and being outside. And I think that was my happy place growing up, to the point where when I started barbecuing, I mean, I also had a mother who was a great cook. And when I started barbecuing, it became an addiction. And I started to love hosting as well. So hosting people for a barbecue. Fix and I both did our MBA around the same time, before we'd ever met each other. I remember hosting a barbecue for the graduating class after we graduated, and the first time I ever thought of going into this business in the CarniStore was someone came up to me and it was like, "Oh, Dan, you have to sell this. Like, this is so good. You have to sell this." And it was just, yeah, it's a passion. And for anyone like us I mean, we're both engineering backgrounds as well, so we have to geek out and optimize and make something perfect. So, and if it's not, it's like there's that stubborn mentality. It's like, I'm going to perfect it. And I think that with that passion and that mentality, it was almost like, yeah, we're going to cook good meat. We're going to host epic parties, regardless of business. I mean, this is just a hobby.
I mean, it still feels like that. You still have that same sense of the hobby, going to work every day, having now done this full time since 2020 for you, right?
Yeah, I think life is. I think life is different now. I think there's a lot more overwhelm. There's family. There's business. CarniStore's grown again. It's not like before, where before it was multiple times a week.
Yeah, but now we try and like make it a point that we need to do the things that like we enjoyed while starting the business, because sometimes you get carried away and like emails and forms and procedures and issues and stuff, and you just forget why we got into this first place. And I think this is a reminder that for us that we always need to go and do what we enjoy. So every now and then when there is an event, we go and cook. We both grill at home. We both
Host the team as well. We host the team. Yeah, we host our teams at either of our places multiple times a year. Yeah.
So, and we do lots of cookouts, like with friends. So, like with friends who are into barbecue and grilling also. So we still try to fit it in, but it's not as it used to be. But we need to consciously, like fit it into our lives right now.
A very important question for both of you. What is your favorite food to have?
Yeah, actually, so
This is the hard one. I saved it for last for that
It's
reason.
like picking your favorite
yeah,
child.
favorite child,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say growing up in Alexandria, seafood and fish was, like my favorite thing. But then again, I always liked meat. I didn't love it, but like I found my passion for meat, like 15, 16 years ago. So I would say surf and turf, like
Best of both
steak,
worlds.
yeah, steak and
sure.
like lobsters or shrimps, some béarnaise. Yeah,
Maybe king
that would
crab.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
What about you, Dan?
Uh, yeah. Sometimes it's a straight up steak, but I mean, usually I'm a sucker for something between bread. So a cheesesteak, if I make one at home, or like a smash burger, or things like that are just like, I've got that element of it where I can just eat with my hands, because I love to eat with my hands. Um, you know, yeah, I think that can be something that I crave. Other than shawarma, I love shawarma. Like, but I love shawarma. We did a video, a shawarma video. I don't know if you've seen it, but to date, it's our most viewed video
It's
ever
the
on
one that has
Instagram.
10 million views. or
Almost
something?
11. Yeah.
Almost 11.
Yeah. So again, I think that
Using the whole cow, like all cuts of meat from different parts of the cow and just over charcoal.
that was
Yeah.
delicious. That
Yeah, it
was
was
like
good, yeah.
absolutely. I mean, if it wasn't for the effort, if that was easy to do, yeah, I could.
Man, we just ate them. I'm hungry.
I could smash.
I
I could smash one of those.
I was like, well, now that you've made everyone hungry.
Yeah.
Fikry, thank you so much for being with us on Homegrown DXB. Such a pleasure to have you guys both.
Thanks for having
us.
us. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Been a pleasure.